Olga Gordon. I was Olga White, married garden now, a JP. I'm 70 years old. I was born 10th of September 1951. I was born in City River, that's in Stan Creek District. To my mother, Gwendolyn Gentle, my father, Ewan White, both deceased. My memory about Hurricane Hattie before, I was a kid at the age of 10 years old going to St. John's School, which was then on Albert Street. I was living with my foster family on Amara Avenue. The Monday morning, I could remember we were sent, before the weather hit, we were sent to school because my family heard nothing about our weather. While at school, our teacher, Miss Subarayas, now deceased, was the teacher for Standard 3. She came into the classroom and said the principal said that we are going home. They're sending us home because our weather is going to hit Belize. As kids, we were frightened but knew nothing about a hurricane. When I got home, I told my family what teacher said. Right away, they got into action and started to pack some clothes. I was sent to the shop to buy foodstuff, namely rice, beans, flour, bread, etc. When the night came, my mother said we were going to a shelter because shelters were then open. So we went to St. Ignatius School, which is now on Euphrates Avenue. So we went there for shelter. When we got there, the night when we got there, the building was already filled. So we had to stay downstairs because its classroom is up and down. We had to stay downstairs, and the person who was responsible for the school said that we must stay downstairs, and if the weather come and any water, everything, they're going to open the door so we can come upstairs. We stayed there, but only my mother, myself, and my sister, only three of us went. My aunt and uncle, they went to Palace Theater because that same night a movie by the name of The Fly was showing, so they all went to theater. Before that, in the morning, it started to rain, the breeze was blowing, and that was when they came to meet us there. The rain continued, the breeze blew and everything, and like 4:35 in the morning, somebody who was on the veranda yelled and said the water is coming up. Now we have to move from downstairs to upstairs, which is very hard. The entire building only had me and my sister as small kids. Everybody was adult, so we had to go up a winding step to get upstairs, which I had to move between people's foot, trying to move through the crowd to get upstairs. When we get upstairs, we cannot get in. The door was locked from inside and they didn't want to open the building. But there was one man with us who had some rope. He was going somewhere to catch his animals, and the weather caught him so he could move. So they decided to tie the door and get all the men there to pull on the door. Constant pulling and pulling and pulling, they pulled the door open, and that was how we got in. But when we get in there, the place was filled. So there was no space. You had to move between people sleeping on the floor. All this time, the breeze is blowing, the rain is coming, and the water is coming so fast. We got in there, and there was a nurse in there, and she said to my mother, I have a little space for you and the two girls. You could stay right here. So we stayed there. I leaned on her, and she had my little sister, who was a very small baby, in her hand, which she had to hold up throughout that whole period of time. There were people having kids on the floor. People were bawling, hollering, making noise. The breeze was blowing in, the blackboards were dropping, and people were trying to fight to keep the window closed. People were praying. It was a chaos, and for me, it was scary because I was so small at the age of 10 years. But it lasted, it blew, and it lasted until, I would say maybe after 6, 7, something like that, when they said there was a lull. By this time, everybody rushed to the window to look through the window to see what they could see. I stood on some tables and I looked through the window. And when I looked through the window, all I could see was water surrounding the school. The water was almost as high as the veranda for St. Ignatius. So if we had stayed downstairs, we'd have drowned down there. And you couldn't see houses. Like the water was this high, so like all the houses was hiding. And we had to stay there without no food. We had nothing, because like people was not that much prepared to say, well, we'll get a disaster, we need to have food, we need to have stuff like this. And what we bought, everything was left at home. We took just one bun and a tin of milk with us. It continued on, I say like after 8 minutes or 9 or something through the morning, I see some men going and coming with dories. They were going with dories and coming back, and then that was when I guess they must have get into some building, some shop, somewhere, and they started to bring back stuff so we could have eat biscuit and stuff like that. And that went right through the entire morning. We had nowhere to go, nothing to do, until in the afternoon people came in and they said, well, the water is going down, but you have so much house on the street, so much place was broken up, so much this was happening. But all I wanted to do to go home, to ask if we could go home to see the condition of the house that I used to live. My mother said, not at this moment, we cannot leave, we'll have to wait. I don't know what time we left, because I was crying, I was frightened, and like I said, there was not much kids around, everybody was grown people. Finally, in the evening, one of my uncles said that he's going home. He'll try to fight his way to get home. He got home and he came back and he said the house has dropped. Our house was like 13 to 14 steps high. He came and said the house have dropped flat, so the house is on the ground. Everything in the house is a mess. All the food stuff, everything was destroyed. I had a little parrot that they bought for me when I was smaller, and poor thing, I left the parrot and the parrot drowned because we left the parrot in the house. So we still had to stay there with nowhere to go, and we weathered the whole night again there. People bring in a little this and a little that so that we could eat, and we slept that night. In the morning, my mom decided that she wants to go home. She was not my real mother. She was my foster mother. She said that she thinks it's time we go home and try to do something to the house. So we had to walk in water. It wasn't that high anymore, and we had to leave from St. Ignatius, because we were living on Amara Avenue, so we didn't have that far to go. We were living in front of Curl Thompson, and we got home. When we got home, there was nowhere dried in the house. Nothing was dried, everything was wet. All we had to do was just stand at the door and wonder what to do. She decided that standing at the door would do it. We'd have to try to get some dry clothes out and ask people for help and see what they could have done to help us. And it was not only us, a lot of people in the area, the house, whose house was not properly, completely destroyed, was wet, completely wet. So we weathered that. They pulled about 2 beds together, and they asked one of the neighbors for 2 blankets so that they could have thrown up on the bed that we could have slept for the night. That night, and we slept the night, and we had to work early the following morning, which is now Wednesday. Work that morning, try to start to wash out clothes to get clothes dry. At this time, the sun had come out, try to get clothes dried, and people were just going about bringing stuff from store, from shop. I don't know where they were going to get it. But I said to my close neighbor, which was the Reynolds, they had a 2 boys and a girls, maybe my age, and I said to them, it seems to think that stores are open. I didn't know that people had broke the store and they were stealing the stuff. So I decided that let's go. Let's go and see what we can find. And we left. Unbeknown to my mother, we left, and I got biscuits, I got milk, I got different things. Mind you, I'll get lashing when I get home. But then I'm trying to help. There's nothing at home, I'm trying to help. And we get out there and we got what we could have get and get back home and left again and continue doing what we could have done, to help the family. And that was how we continue every day with the little that we got from here, the little that we got from there. And then we heard that some soldiers were cooking food somewhere afoot. So I decided I go in again, because then I want to bring home food. I left and I went to Memorial Park. And they said, no, you have to go around the other side. And I went and I got in a lines where they were giving out food, hot food. So there I gone again, I get 3 plates of food, and I left from there and have to go all the way to Amaro Avenue, 10 years old. All the way to Amaro Avenue to take food home so that my mom could eat and who could eat from there. And while on my way home, some people said that they're going to open a building where they will be giving out food and blanket and stuff like this. But they didn't give a date, they didn't know when the time was it, but that was going to happen. So I decided to go back home. They cooked, they did what they could have done home, and we ate. We slept on a very wet bed again with just 2 blankets that we had and a little clothes that we could have dried, and hoping that somebody would come and give something, would do something to help us, And not only us, but neighbors in the area who needed help. Until the following week, when they started to say, okay, they can give ration, they can give this, you have to go up on Regent Street West. I run away again, on Regent Street West, and I get out there, I find one long lines. And I asked them, Mr. Where you going? He said, you have to get in the lines, you have to put down your name, and we can get ration. Who your mother? I tell her, I don't know, because I don't have no more. So I get in the lines again. And when I went inside, I met a young man. I don't remember his name, nothing like that. He asked me where I live. I told him. He said, where is your parents? I don't know. I said, I don't know. He said, so who you're staying with some friends? I told him, we have so much people at home and we need some ration. And they put my name down and they was going to give us ration. When there comes my mother, she came. She heard about it and she came. And she was like, I was looking for you. Where were you? And I just left and went around the lane. But she was kind of happy and sad that I have made an effort to get something to help the family. So then we got ration, we got canned beef, potted meat. We had a lot of things. For now, I don't eat it no more. I ate canned beef and potted meat for too long. So now I don't like it, I don't eat it. So we got ration. Then they were giving out clothes by Wesley College. We went to get clothes at Wesley College, and we started to get the family back together. Neighbors started to come out and stuff like that. And then they had a curfew where these soldiers was going around in some big trucks. So you have to be at home. The curfew started 7 o'clock in the night, if I could remember. But you had to be in by that time, or else the soldiers didn't carry you in, So everything you had to do it in the day to get your water, to get stuff, and we had to go and back water from the faucet down the street. And we lived that way for a period of time to try to get back everything together. People came and helped us to raise the house so that we could have put the house, not that high, just on some blocks, so that it's off the ground, so that we could get the house dry, get all our stuff together, and things like this. But for me, it was a bad experience. At the age of 10, you're experiencing something like this, We have never known nothing about this before, and I had to weather all of this. I always keep telling people, if I hear hurry, I will run. I know I hear kid, I will run, because believe you me, from that experience I had, I don't want to witness another hurricane. Being in that building that was shaking so much, that building shake, like we were in a hammock. And that got me scared, because this whole building collapsed with so much people in here. We all died. So we were just lucky, some of the lucky ones, because then when we heard that so much people died in Scotch Church, and people died this side, people died that side, I ran away and I went to Central Park. And there they had some wood pile up to burn people, because they had to start to burn people. So as inquisitive as I am, I went to peep how they burn people. I didn't know that when they lit your body, you actually get up and stand up. And they sliced the man too. I don't know if they put gas or what they did, but when they lit it and they lit the board, he actually stood up and started to dance. Well, I never see no more. I break, because we do in a park, we do out there to watch the burn people. So they literally had to burn some bodies in the park. Some were buried. I learned that some were buried, but some were born right in the park, because Scotch Church was, some badge or something came up and slammed Scotch Church, so people in there had died that had sheltered there, and it's a very low building. People from the foreshore side, different waterfront side have died. People from Yabra had died. Most of the people from Yabra had washed away. So there was that area is a whole new area for now. But from my experience from that hurricane, my before, my during, and my after the storm, I always keep saying I don't want to weather that storm no more. Not one hurricane, not one. Whenever we hear, well, now that I have my house now, we stay here. We stay here. We don't go nowhere because I feel like it's secure. But we haven't get anything as dangerous as Hurricane Hattie. It's a bad experience for me and for other friends that I had. And I keep telling my kids them now that we don't want to weather a hurricane. I don't want them to know what it is because it's very scary, and we will go to shelter. I went to one shelter and it wasn't feasible for me and my kids, so I have never gone back to a shelter no more. I stayed at home. But my experience, like I say, with Hurricane Hattie before, during the weather, and after the weather was very, very scary. Very scary for me.